If you're surprised that Joe Biden lied about pardoning his son Hunter, you should not have been. Hello, good people. It is Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets, and we have to talk about Joe Biden apparently going back on his word that he was not going to pardon his son Hunter. Of course he was lying. Of course he was lying. This may come as a shock to some of you. Let me not be hyperbolic. This comes as a shock to no one, but I think what may not be as well known a fact is that Joe Biden has been perpetually practically a pathological liar for nearly 50 years. For almost the entire duration of his professional career, his political career, he's been just told one lie after the other, after the other, after the other. And why this is particularly important is because this is one of the main claims that the mainstream liberal media levy against Trump. It has been reported many, many times, from the pathetic former newspaper, New York Times, to other liberal media outlets. They have said that Donald Trump is uniquely dishonest. He lies more than any person in the history of, humanity, apparently, and certainly in the history of anyone who's held public office. This is the persistent claim. And it is particularly touchy to me because I just want you to try to think about what it means to believe that someone who has been lying in your face, that is the mainstream liberal media, them telling you about who is lying. So the people who are informing you about who supposedly is or is not lying has been caught red-handed lying for at least the last 4 years, more like the last 8 years, just perpetually lying about Donald Trump, about Joe Biden, and about the whole basically political landscape has been designed to deceive you. It's been one enormous lie. And then these are the people who are informing us about who is and is not lying. But as per usual, I have receipts. And I want to take you through this staggering. I just want to go all the way back to Joe Biden's early political career. And I want to show you how much Joe Biden has been deceiving the American people. Here's the situation. And this was like maybe 5 years ago. So shout out to Washington Post. They were actually honest enough to actually show us basically when Joe Biden started lying. This would have been before Joe Biden was elected president in his most recent term. So let's look at this little montage that they did of Joe Biden plagiarizing campaign speeches in his first political campaign, his first bid for president in 1988.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship to secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
And I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart. It's not because they didn't work as hard. It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent or the strength or the endurance or the commitment? Of course not. it was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
Shout out to Washington Post. That was back when they were at least in part interested in telling the truth. But there you have it, Joe Biden lying. And by the way, that little spiel about him being the first one to go to college, not only was that plagiarized, but apparently he was lying about that because he has said that whole thing before. And then he also told another story about how his grandfather played football in college. And so it's just like, well, which one is it? Yeah. So who knows, right? Either he's lying about being the first one going to college in his family, or he's lying about his grandfather. Whichever one, he's lying. I don't have time to play this one. If I played all of Joe Biden's lies, this would be like a marathon 24-hour video. So we're just going to get to the main tidbits. Now, I want to go to. I just want to roll through these because this is important. Joe Biden tells bizarre lies. He tells lies that it isn't even apparent how he benefits from these lies. But let's take a look at this one.
He has experienced traumatic loss. His son, Beau, before that, his first wife and his young daughter in an accident. There's no questioning that. That happened. That is real. He has drawn on that experience to comfort other people who were hurting. I think that's admirable. But for many years, Biden would tell the story about that accident with a villain, the truck driver who was involved. And he would say that the driver was drunk. That turned out to be absolutely false and incorrect. According to the police department, the police report, local officials, a judge weighed in saying, no, this was not a drunk driving situation. In fact, Biden's former wife accidentally drove into the path of the truck. It was a terrible accident. The guy was not drunk. There were no charges filed. But over and over again for years, Biden called the guy a drunk driver. And this man's family has been desperately asking him to stop. Stop tarnishing and smearing the legacy of our dad or husband or uncle, that sort of thing. But Biden said it over and over again. For dramatic effect, why do you have to embellish anything about something that sad already?
So interesting little situation there. He's telling lies that the person who was apparently involved in his wife's in a car accident that ended up taking his wife's life, he's saying that he was a drunk driver, and it's not even true. Like, why would you do that? This is the sort of pathology that is associated with Joe Biden, but this goes much, much deeper. Let's listen to another example of Joe Biden's lies.
He had plagiarized a British politician's speech, which then revealed that he had plagiarized a few other speeches while he was a politician. Then eventually he was forced to admit that he plagiarized pages worth of material when he was in law school.
So this is where it gets really interesting.
And the whole thing just sort of cascaded. He was very touchy about this. When people would bring it up, he angrily denied it until he couldn't anymore. And at one point, I don't know if you've ever seen this clip. It is wild. Someone asked him a question on the campaign trail about this and sort of suggested that maybe Joe Biden isn't that bright. And Biden bristled and got very, very defensive and went on this whole long rant about how smart he is and all the accolades academically that he had earned through the years. Again, this clip, if you've never seen it, is absolutely amazing. Cut 37.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3. Joe.
That's all I can say is wow. Not a single thing that he said was true. But I'm just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. You need to understand the depth of Joe Biden's dishonesty. Let's listen to him lie about being arrested with Nelson Mandela. This is absurd.
He said several times that he was arrested with Nelson Mandela in apartheid South Africa. Here's an example, cut 30.
This day, 30 years ago, Nelson Mandela walked out of prison and entered into discussions about apartheid. I had the great honor of meeting him. I had the great honor of being arrested with our UN ambassador on the streets of Soweto trying to get to see him on Robbins Island.
So this is the story that he told on the campaign multiple times, that he got arrested while in South Africa visiting Mandela because he was down for the cause, Joe Biden. So some fact checkers looked into it, and the Washington Post called the claim ridiculous and gave him 4 Pinocchios. And eventually he had to back off, saying, well, what I meant was I got briefly separated. Separated is not the same word as arrested. Obviously, we all understand that. He used the word arrested for extra emphasis and power, even though it wasn't true. In Cut 39, he also bragged that he was arrested during the civil rights movement in the United States. Listen.
Because I'm so damn old, I was there as well. They think I'm kidding, man. Seems like yesterday, the first time I got arrested. Anyway.
And he told that story a couple times. Got arrested during the civil rights era. Didn't happen. 4 more Pinocchios. We're up to 8.
This is who Joe Biden is. But if you think I'm done, I'm just getting started, my friends. Because Joe Biden has insistently said that he is a person who taught at the University of Pennsylvania.
You make me miss being a professor at Penn. When I left the vice presidency, I had a chance to do a number of things, but I took a professorship at the University of Pennsylvania on presidential politics and history. So I envy you.
Well, isn't it exciting to be part of this sweep?
Oh, no,
of
no, it is.
history?
It is. But it's also, I really enjoyed teaching and writing.
Joe Biden actually took $1 million from the University of Pennsylvania. He never taught a single class. That's who this man is. The man repeatedly lied about the reason why he got back into the presidential campaign was because Donald Trump said that there were good people on both sides. And when he saw that Donald Trump was saying that Nazis and white supremacists were good people, he said, I have to get back in the fight. I have to get back in. That was supposedly his impetus for getting back into the race and decided to run for president in 2020. A complete and total lie. The reason why I'm going through all of this to show to you how dishonest Joe Biden is because I want to show you that the only reason why you don't know about Joe Biden's perpetual dishonesty, his 50 years of dishonesty, the reason why you don't know about this stuff is because you have a dishonest media who is covering for him. They're interested in telling you supposedly how much Donald Trump lies, and you don't know anything about who Joe Biden is. This latest thing about Joe Biden and how he basically lied about pardoning his son Hunter should shock no one. And it should shock no one if we had been rightfully informed about Joe Biden's perpetual dishonesty for his entire political career. As a matter of fact, I don't think Joe Biden could actually have become president if we had an honest media, because no one would trust him given his track record. Instead, they pointed their lasers and their guns and all their ammunition at one Donald J. Trump because they weren't interested in telling the truth, but they were interested in just spewing propaganda and turning people against Donald Trump. And so I thought I would bring this out. I think everyone's covered the whole hypocrisy about him lying about pardoning his son. There's a whole thing there, right? Because I'll leave it to the other talking heads to deal with that, because there's a lot there. Because Joe Biden is alleging that his son was being singled out, and that the DOJ, maybe there's some funny business. Well, if the DOJ is targeting your son and they can't be trusted, and they're your DOJ, then why did you wait so long to pardon him? You let millions of dollars of taxpayer funds go towards his prosecution and his trial and all that stuff, only to turn around and pardon him? I mean, this is your DOJ. There's a lot of questions there. But I just thought I would let you know, in case you didn't, the deep, deep dishonesty of Joe Biden. But I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Please leave me a comment in the comment section. If this is your first time coming to this channel, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you. And until next time, friends, God bless you.